Chapter 11.
Haven't you, varlet?
The hands of Horvis drove down the steel, thrice blessed, right up to the pommel in the big green beast's backside. The creature spat reefer, mingled with profanity, and screamed. Inspector Horvis turned his blade.
You have my diamonds, I believe,
said he, administering another vicious twist. Went the creature, and then a massive explosion. It was a particularly messy kind of explosion. Inspector Horvis was showered with odorous ooze. He toppled backwards as the fetter engulfed him. When he was able to rise, which he did to the accompaniment of much coughing, spluttering, and gagging generally, he became aware of two things. The creature had gone, but so too had the diamonds.
It would seem that we have egg on our faces,
said Cornelius Murphy.
And jam.
Tuppe licked his lips.
Strawberry jam.
The rancid turd.
Anna threw her hands in the air.
Look at me. Look at me.
Now, a tall 17-year-old woman can look good in most things. Dressed even in a plastic bin liner, she can seem like heaven. But carrying off that covered in banana custard from head to toe look, that's asking a lot, and certainly more than Anna Gotting was prepared to be asked.
Look at my T-shirt. That was signed by the lead singer. Look at my hair. Oh, my God.
She turned upon Cornelius with the fury that hell hath none of.
This is all your fault, you bloody clown.
My fault?
Cornelius wiped egg from his fears.
I don't think that's altogether fair.
Fair?
Anna made claws, bright yellow ones.
Well, said Cornelius, I was for pressing the bell button. I was quite prepared to overlook the obvious fact that we were defying the laws of motion, at least until I'd got to meet Hugo Rune. I would have broached the subject then, of course.
What?
Anna plucked at her T-shirt.
Excuse me?
Tuppe raised his hand once more.
Perhaps we might push the bell button now. I mean, if Hugo Rune is in there, maybe he'd let us use his bathroom.
You press it!
Anna's voice rose to perilous heights.
Push the bell. Bang the bloody knocker. Do what you damn well please, but I've had enough. You can stick your forbidden zones, stick your fairies, stick their magic spells, stick Hugo Rune and his wonderful water car, which you lost. Stick it all and stick yourselves. You are a fool, Cornelius, and you, Tuppe. You are quite unspeakable.
Does this mean that sexual intercourse is out, then?
The small fellow inquired.
No!
He continued, as a sticky yellow fist caught him squarely in the face.
And stick your stupid old jokes. I'm finished. Goodbye.
And with that, she turned about and stormed away across Kew Green, not quite as pretty as a picture. The two lads watched her go.
You might have handled that a mite better,
said Cornelius when she was finally out of sight. Tuppe rubbed his chin.
Good riddance,
said he.
Good riddance? What do you mean?
Well,
Tuppe's tiny fears puckered and his bottom lip got a definite quiver on.
She spoiled things, Cornelius. It was much better when it was just the two of us. The epic duo, eh?
But we weren't very epic. We've lost everything this time.
Tuppe began to blubber.
You'll figure it out. Oh, I know you will. We always get ghosts along the way. You don't need her hanging around all the time.
She did come up with some rather good ideas.
You come up with loads of good ideas.
Tuppe sniffled and snuffled. Cornelius offered him the use of his hanky, a nice oversized red gingham one.
Have a blow?
Thanks.
Tuppe made a great foghorn noises into the handkerchief.
I'm sorry,
he said.
It's okay. We'll get by.
Of course we will. You and me, eh?
You and me.
Tuppe made another mighty blow into the handkerchief before offering it back.
Thanks.
Cornelius considered the now sodden germ carrier.
Keep it,
he said.
A present.
Thanks very much.
Tuppe stuffed the thing down the front of his dungarees.
So, what do we do now?
He asked with considerable Brighton breeziness.
Ring the bell? See if your real daddy is at home to call us?
Nah, I don't think so. It occurs to me now that the name Thoth rings a bit of a bell itself, as in the Egyptian god Thoth.
And is that bad?
It could be when you translate the name into Greek. That would make it Hermes. Hermes Trismegistus, to be precise.
Oh no!
Tuppe took a step back from the front door.
As in, train of Trismegistus?
That would be the one.
Best not ring for service then.
Best not. Let's go home and get some sleep. We've screwed up quite enough for one night.
Another day, another ocarina? Is that what you're saying?
Something of that nature, yeah.
Then might I trouble you to give me a piggyback? My legs are all walked out.
That, said Cornelius Murphy, smiling like a good 'un, would be my pleasure.
Inspector Horvis had quite forgotten the meaning of the word pleasure. He now sat in the gutter, cleaning the blade of his sword stick on a discarded Kentucky Fried Chicken box. A young woman, all covered in custard, had just passed him by. The two of them had clashed terribly, colour-wise, and she had looked him up and down and denounced him as a pervert. The inspector shook his head. It was an unfunny old world, and no mistake. Horvis shook green slime from his fingers and climbed to his feet. He was rightly perplexed. It is a fact, well known to those who know it well, that all policemen above the rank of sergeant are not only Freemasons, but Jesuits. The reason for this is quite obvious when you think about it. The coming of the millennium and the inevitable appearance of the Antichrist. The exact dates and details of these earth-shattering events are known only to a chosen few. The Pope, his wife, and their son Colin. Just how the pontiff came by this privileged information is a bit of a mystery. Some say that the dates and details were edited out of the New Testament during its translation from the original Greek in the year 999. Others, and this seems very much more likely, that the Pope is on first-name terms with the Almighty, who regularly drops in for a cappuccino and a feet up in front of the telly to watch the Italian football. But be all this as it may, the Church of Rome, seeking as ever to better the lot of the common man, has, over the years, taken certain steps to prepare itself for the big showdown, making sure that the police forces of the world are in its back pocket, being just one of them. Inspector Horvis had mused upon the foregoing many times since his compulsory initiation into the Jesuit Brotherhood, but he hadn't believed one word of any of it. But all this business tonight had him rightly perplexed. The inspector sheathed his now once more immaculate blade and flexed his shoulders. He had best be away home before somebody reported him to the police. He didn't see the silver car until it was almost upon him. It came without much sound, but at considerable speed. As it mounted the pavement, the inspector and the driver stared for the briefest of moments into each other's eyes, and then the great detective leapt for his life, over the parapet of the bridge and down into the icy depths of the River Thames. Cornelius gaped in horror. He'd seen the whole thing, and now the silver car was heading straight in his direction. Oh, hell. The tall boy turned and took flight, clutching the now slumbering Tuppe about his shoulders. The silver car whistled after him. Cornelius did not run down the middle of the road as they do in the movies. He knew better than that. He made for the trees of Kew Green. The silver car bumped up onto the turf, gouging great ruts out of the grass. A strongly worded letter from the local residents' committee to the Home Secretary would be penned the following day regarding these ruts, although they would be somewhat far down the list of complaints, as a lot worse was to follow this night. Cornelius dodged in and out of the oak trees, seeking a lower bough to swing up on, but all had been clipped against such possible outrage. Hell, puffed the runner. The silver car swerved after him in hot pursuit. Wake up, Tuppe. We're in big trouble. Went Tuppe. The church on Kew Green is a historic affair. Designed by Sir Christopher Wren, it presents a wealth of period detail to the lover of ecclesiastical architecture. The transept to the north is of particular interest, with its fan vaulting and distinctive gilded funerary escutcheons. Thomas Gainsborough lies buried in the churchyard, and the walls enclosing this were built high against the resurrection men. They remain high to this day. They may be scaled, using considerable care, but as to leaping them in a single bound, no way. Cornelius suddenly found himself pressed up against the south-facing wall with nowhere left to run. The silver car moved forward, catching him to perfection in its headlights. The tall boy straightened the sleeper on his shoulders and raised a hand to stir him from his rest. But then he thought better of it. If they were both to die here, smashed up against a graveyard wall, perhaps it was kinder that Tuppe didn't know about it. He could apologise later. In heaven. The silver car ploughed forward, and Cornelius stood his ground. It pulled up not 3 yards away and stood, its engine throbbing. Cornelius shielded his eyes to the glare, clung to Tuppe with one hand and made a fist with the other.
"I'm ready," said he.
The passenger door swung slowly open, and a voice called out the now legendary words,
"Come with me if you want to live."
Cornelius squinted into the headlight's beam.
"Mr. Schwarzenegger, is that you?"
"Don't be a silly arse,"
the voice replied.
"Get into the car. They are close behind."
And close behind they were. Across the green, 4 sets of headlights swept into view. They sliced between the trees and across the grass. They were very close behind. Without further words spoken, Cornelius dragged Tuppe from his shoulders, cradled him in his arms, and ducked for the silver car. The driver put the vehicle into reverse and spun the wheel around.
"It may be appropriate at this time that you position your head firmly between your knees. Sudden impact is a predictable circumstance."
Safe as sheep. Cornelius clutched Tuppe to his bosom and ducked his head. The driver tore the car about and bore towards his pursuers. He struck the first a glancing blow which sent the tall boy sprawling to the floor.
"Wake up, Tuppe,"
said he, but Tuppe snored on.
"I'll show these fellows I mean business," said the driver.
"Oh, done."
Cornelius clawed at the dashboard. "What's happening?"
"We are under attack from the forces of darkness. You would do well to maintain the crash position. Further concussions are reliably forecast."
The driver did a nifty handbrake turn and sideswiped an oncoming vehicle, rolling it into a tree, where it did the right thing and burst into flame.
"A satisfactory result," said the driver. "I recall a time in Shanghai. Lord Lucan and I were engaged in a rickshaw race, 50-guinea wager. His lordship had the temerity to have his driver elbow mine from the thoroughfare in just such a fashion. Mind you, I evened the score on that occasion, took out my pistol and shot the pair of them dead."
"Oh, great," thought Cornelius to himself. "I've hitched a ride with a psycho."
"I heard that," said the driver. "Thoughts have wings, and yours flutter against my ears, even in the pitch of battle. Keep your head down, please."
He screeched to a halt. A car, rushing up from behind, ploughed into the rear with spectacular effect. The driver laughed uproariously.
"That stopped the blighter in his tracks, what? 2 down and 2 to go. Shall we make a chase of it?"
"Anything you say, friend."
"Friend me no friends have I."
"Whatever you say."
Cornelius chanced to glance up from the fetal position he had assumed on the floor. He observed a stretch of fair isle sock, a goodly spread of bullskin tweed, much waistcoat with a golden fob chain, considerable silk cravat, and then a wealth of chins.
"My name is Hugo Rune,"
the driver said,
"but you may call me Guru."